Hey, this is Leah from Sloth Rest, and you're listening to WUOG 90.5 FM, Athens' only alternative.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Say What You Will. I guess WOG's premier talk show. At least we'll call it the premier talk show.
I believe we're one of the only.
We are broadcasting live from the Tate Student Center here in Athens, Georgia, on the University of Georgia campus. I am Kason Smith, your co-host, joined, as always, by my fraternal twin brother,
Wood Smith.
So, got a hopefully interesting program tonight. Going to be talking about the Mueller report dropping, as well as the Jesse Smollett situation. Also, be talking about the 2020 race some. We're going to have our good friend Jonathan call in just a second to talk about all that. But first, just to get things started, Wood, why don't you plug our social media?
All right, so you can find us on Twitter and YouTube. Our Twitter account is SayWhatUGA. That's SayWhatUGA. And we usually tweet out the link to our live stream right before we go live, about an hour, 10 minutes. And our YouTube is Say What You Will Show. You can go into YouTube, search Say What You Will Show, and that'll pull up either our old live streams or our channel, and you can get us there. And then you can watch our old live streams from past weeks. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell notification, and you make sure you can listen to us live on YouTube every week.
Okay, so first thing we kind of want to talk about is a pretty cool live show that Wood and I saw last Saturday, I think it was. We saw the one-man Star Wars trilogy, and that was quite an interesting experience.
I would say yes. Key phrase there is the experience part.
So the one-man Star Wars trilogy was a performance at the UGA Performing Arts Center. That's tied in, with the Hodgson School of Music. But it's this fella called Charles Ross, and in an hour and a half, he alone, without any kind of props, without any kind of costumes or music or anything, performs a truncated version of the original Star Wars trilogy. All three...
4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6, all three movies. He does the whole thing in an hour and a half. And all he has at his disposal is a mic and staged lights that his, I guess, director changes.
I think it was actually a little bit less than an hour and a half, because there was some of that time that he spent talking with the audience, interacting with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty good to be able to do all that in an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but we decided to try it out anyway, and I was not disappointed. What about you?
A little cool tidbit is students sometimes get a discount for shows down there. So if you're not, on the fence about a show, see if they have a discount for students.
Yeah, usually the student discount applies to like the matinee showing.
Yeah, this one
the mid-afternoon.
Yeah, the student discount was only available for the 2:00 showing.
But apparently he does. He also does one-man Lord of the Rings trilogy, one-man Harry Potter, I believe.
I think he was working on that.
One-man
the Batman
trilogy. There was one or two others,
and
I think.
The Avengers, I wasn't sure if he was about to do that one.
I wasn't sure. But it was pretty cool because he would do the music and the sound effects for what's going on, along with the dialogue of everyone. And he could jump between all of those so quickly that it was almost as if they were happening at the same time. And so...
Yeah, he had figured out exactly how to say stuff in order to get the melody of the song, or, there was a lot of work put into that. It wasn't just something he came up with one night.
Yeah, and then he talked about at the end of the show, like how he started doing it just for the fun of it, and eventually it got real big enough where Lucasfilm took notice, and he wound up joining their licensing family or conglomerate, whatever that's called.
He ended up performing at Comic-Con,
mm-hmm.
I believe,
yeah.
for Lucasfilm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but this was his first time coming to Athens, but he said he thought the town was pretty cool. So that's neat. All right. Well, we're going to go to a quick music break. We're going to get Jonathan online, and we're going to delve right into the hopefully the meat and potatoes of this show. So next up is some Bavarian folk music, followed by Pogo's Mellow Brick Road.
This is the same genuine just by the you're running down to be running.
And it's funny.
This is the same genuine just inside down to be you're running. This is the same genuine just by the you're running down to be running.
And it's funny.
This is the same genuine just inside down to be you're running. That acts a while away and really that acts up
And Malachi.
that acts a while away
And really,
that acts up that acts a while away
and really,
that acts up arrows in that acts a while away getting that acts up that acts a while away
and really,
that acts up arrows in that acts a while away getting that acts up that acts a while away
and really,
that acts up arrows in that acts a while away getting that acts up that acts up old Rosh Heifer that acts up that acts up old Rosh Heifer that acts up that acts up old Rosh Heifer that acts up that acts up old Rosh Heifer that acts up Use
S in your bottom. Beat him.
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 that acts a while away that acts a while away getting that acts up that acts a while away that acts a while away getting that acts up this is the same genuine just by the you're running down to be running
And it's funny.
this is the same genuine just inside down to be you're running this is the same genuine just by the you're running down to be running
And it's funny.
this is the same genuine just inside down to be you're running this is the same genuine just by the you're running down to be running
And it's funny.
this is the same genuine just inside down to be you're running use that acts up
Your bottom.
use that acts up
Your bottom.
that acts up
All right, just to let y'all know, we are currently having some technical difficulties. Our usual method of having him call in is giving us some trouble. We're not entirely sure why, so we're currently working on that. So we're just going to play some more music. We usually play music anyway. Just consider this a higher ratio of music to talking than usual. But anyway, what you just heard was some Bavarian folk music, followed by Mellow Brick Road by Pogo, and then Resonance by Home. Up next will be St. Pepsi's Enjoy Yourself and Halu Spring by the Cool Notes, which is like a British, like disco, or no, not really disco, but I guess R&B group. But anyway, we'll play those two, and hopefully we should have all that sorted out by the time we come back.
Let the
All right, we are back. Jonathan, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right, great. We had some technical difficulties there, but we figured it out, and hopefully everything should go smoothly. So, Jonathan, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good.
Now, Wood and I had spring break last week, but your spring break was this week, right?
No, my spring break was last week.
Oh, it was last week. That's right. Ours was the week before. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, time flies.
It does. It does. Believe me.
All right. So I guess we can start off with the Mueller report. So obviously that dropped a little while back, and it's kind of been it's kind of imploded the minds of a lot of the big media figures. I know Rachel Maddow was borderline crying the other night on her show.
Had tears in her eyes from what I could tell. I didn't watch the clip of her.
Yeah, but it's basically blown up 3 years worth of speculation by talking heads. I want to get what's your reaction on how it's going down?
Surprising. No collusion at all. So that's something that blown a lot of people away because we were expecting that there would be collusion coming out of this. So surprised. Not mad, not angry at Mueller or anyone investigate. I mean, it's just surprising. I think that it's going to be a defining moment of this year. It's going to definitely be a big topic of the 2020 election.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit just taken aback that it took this long and nothing came out of it,
Yeah.
So
what's your opinion? I've read several people talk about that this was the biggest case of basically media malpractice that's ever been. I've read that several people's opinions saying that this was a bigger media fail than the weapons of mass destruction situation. That even though the weapons of mass destruction caused more damage, the overall recklessness of the media was bigger.
Just for clarification, you're talking about the weapons of mass destruction that initiated Iraq?
Yeah.
That's interesting comparison. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one either.
But it says that not when you look at overall damage, but when you look at the amount of recklessness and poor journalistic actions that were taken, that this trumps, pardon the pun, trumps the WMD situation big time.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I do think that there's a big mistake made by almost every single organization of building this report up over the years to be the slam dunk thing. I think that they should have all waited until the report came out instead of just keep on building and building. Covering the interviews and whatever it was, the actual, I won't say trial, but the investigation. But just building it up to be that it's going to be collusion, we know for sure. We're just waiting it out till the investigation's finally over. But come on, guys, we all know it's definitely collusion. I think that was, it was a big deal. But compared to weapons of mass destruction, I don't know. I think it was just that poor judgment, but I don't think it was as poor judgment as weapons of mass destruction. That's just me. I understand. It's not I don't think it's your opinion, but.
I personally think this media situation is worse than just poor judgment, though. I think it's a case of malicious targeting, really, when you look at just how blatant and irresponsible the speculation that was going on in supposedly factual reporting entities.
I believe it was dropped on Friday, and it was a few days later, William Barr, the AG, sent his summary to, I think it was Sunday. He sent his summary to the Congress. And for about 2 days, you had talking heads going on and on about what was in the report without anyone actually knowing what was in the report based on the summary that everyone was waiting for. Yeah.
What's your opinion, Jonathan, of you think after this coming out, you think that Democrats would start to, the big leaders in the Democratic Party would try to ease things off and try to move on to the next subject? What do you think of individuals like Adam Schiff, who are basically doubling down and trying to say that the Mueller report is getting trying to be hidden by the Republicans, and that there's actual evidence. And I think he said recently that there's plenty of evidence that Trump colluded.
He suspects there is evidence, but not enough to warrant a indictment. And that's what he says. And he says he will issue a subpoena on Mueller if necessary.
Yeah. Do you think it's a smart strategy to double down, Jonathan, or do you think they should try to get off this and move on to something more productive or positive?
I think they should definitely move on, but it wouldn't hurt to me to at least ask for the full report to be released. I hear that the redacted report is coming out at least mid-April, maybe even earlier. I would like to see the report myself. I think the American people would love to see that report. And I understand redacting it in certain places to make sure that we're not giving away too much sensitive information of, people's personal, lives or anything, to do with Russia or anything that might be classified. But I think we should, at least the American people need to see the report and judge a little bit for themselves. I don't think there was collusion. I think there might have been. That's what my opinion was. I was waiting to see what this report said. And now that we have just the gist of, okay, no collusion, I want to see the facts of what they're talking about, because I've seen many people explain it to me, well, this person associated with Trump did this and that and the other, and I'm just sitting here going, how is this not collusion? But, again, I want to see the report. I think Democrats should push for the report, but to push it to the length of indicting subpoenaing Mueller, I think that would be too far. I think do their best to get the report, and from there move on.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, my thought process just went blank. I forgot what point I was going to make. Wood, why don't you? Do you have something?
Yeah, I don't think there's hardly anyone that doesn't want the report released. I mean, at least in redacted form, like you say, that they're probably going to redact maybe methods or certain individuals involved. But I look forward that. It's going to be interesting because the report is supposed to be like 400 pages.
I think 300. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a hard read.
Yeah, it's not surprising it would be several hundred pages, considering the amount of information they would have to sift through. So, I may try to read it, but 400 pages is a lot of information to go through, or even 300, like you heard. 300 is a lot of information for a person to go through.
All right, I hate to ask, but do either of you remember the report that came out? It might have been 3 years ago. It was definitely early on in the investigation that accused Trump and the Trump campaign of all the crimes that were investigated, the collusion with the Russian government. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
You talking about the Steele dossier?
Steele dossier, yes.
Yeah.
I know a lot of that has been debunked or, proven wrong, but I was just wondering, have you guys ever took a read at the Steele dossier? Took a little stab at it? And it's a long document, too, if I recall.
I have not read it in any form.
I haven't read the raw dossier, no.
I think once or twice I tried to read it, but never got into it.
It definitely is a hard read. I was just wondering, because that's something I look back to. I'm like, we're about to have to read this 300, 400-page thing just trying to understand what the investigation did. I mean, it had 3 years' worth of work. 3 to 4, right? If I'm correct. It was almost the entire, a little bit. No, it definitely started afterwards. My bad. But it's just so interesting that we've had this long investigation that the main thing people focus on is no collusion. But I'm wondering about all the other things that they found out through this investigation that may. I wouldn't say I don't want to paint the president under a bad light. That's not like I don't think many people would say that was the main focus of this, but I honestly do want to believe that people actually want to see if there was collusion. Because if there was collusion between a president and the Russian government, I think it's something that everyone would want to know about. But
yeah, the one thing that I hope people catch on and realize is that we were sold this idea for the past 3 years by the media and the talking heads that Trump actually colluded with a foreign power to win the election, and
right, there was no possibility.
And you're already starting to see the first hints of people rewriting it and saying, well, look, now we're looking at campaign finance violations, or we're looking at tertiary type things that do not directly tie in any way to collusion, and I think they're going to try to pull a switcheroo. You're already seeing it somewhat, where they've been selling foreign collusion for 3 years, and now they're going to say, well, it was actually campaign finance violations. That's the real deal.
I think they're going to keep the idea we investigated for collusion, but and this is just my opinion. If they investigate 3 years for collusion and say, look, we found no collusion, but while we're investigating, we found other crimes, I think that I wouldn't call it quite a switcheroo to go, okay, well, if you read the document, you can find other crimes besides that. I think if someone came into my house, police, had a warrant for one thing, but I found another, I wouldn't go, man, you're switching a rule on me. It's like, no, you found other things. I think that this investigation, if they find anything else, I think it wasn't the purview, it wasn't in the circle of we were looking for collusion, but if they found it on their own,
the entire basis for the investigation, the entire reason it got political traction and legal traction was that it was designed to go in there and investigate whether there was collusion. It wasn't a general fact-finding mission to see what laws have been violated.
I'm not saying that.
Right.
But in the purview, in the time that they went in and investigated his campaign trying to find ties to Russia, if they found other crimes, I don't think they should go, well, we're not here looking for those crimes. We should probably just keep looking for Russia. That's just if they find it. I'm just playing devil's advocate here and say, if the report comes out and we see, well, here we found some sort of violation or problem or something that the Trump campaign did, not even just Trump, just the campaign did, I think that the American people should know. I'm sure a lot of people would like to know if Hillary made any, things during her campaign. I think that in this investigation, if they found anything, I'd like to know about it. And right. I keep saying this to some people who I talk to and debate about Trump. I got no problem with the guy. I don't like how he does, but I have a vendetta out against him. I know some people sound like they do, but I think that he may be a little crooked in that most people think that all politicians are, but I'm like to weed the crooked people out the best we can. And I think this investigation might have pulled out some things that Trump and others would like to have maybe not had in this light. So I'm interested to see on what they found during the entire investigation. If not collusion, is there anything they did find?
Yeah, and if another thing is, I don't think the Democrats can make a victory lap if they somehow tie Trump to like a campaign finance violation or something and say, "Oh, we were right. Look, he committed a crime." Because that's not what they were saying for the past 3 years. Because again, if we've now moved and the framing, and we're now just talking about illegal acts done by a campaign, then you're no longer it's no longer anything special. I mean, like Obama's 2008 campaign was fined $375,000 by the Federal Election Commission for campaign reporting violations. So, if we're
at the same time, I believe Ocasio-Cortez, they're having some issues.
Yeah.
Campaign finances.
So if the goalposts are moved from foreign collusion to you didn't report your donations correctly on your campaign, I think that can only be considered a huge blow to the legitimacy of the press and the punditry.
Okay. I think that they're not going to take a victory lap on this because, again, they've been running with this for so long. I think they will definitely step back from it when the report comes out, or if the report has anything damning to the president, I think that they will run with that. But I don't think that they will let go of the report. But I think they will step back from this investigation in general. So
yeah, I see that. Unless there's something specifically, I guess you call it damaging.
Yes.
In there, then otherwise they'll probably mostly drop it, but bring it up every now and then. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, bring it up as like a specter of guilt when they never actually were able to tie anything to. anybody.
A little
Yeah,
bit.
they're definitely going to bring this up in debates with him. You know, there's definitely going to be something that's going to be talked about for the next year and a half.
I think you'll see them also try to spin it as, well, he didn't find enough to indict.
That's another thing I see.
When in reality, the report said didn't find any, but we'll see.
So
We'll see.
Just a quick thing. Carl Bernstein of Woodward and Bernstein, the famous journalistic duo who broke Watergate, Nixon. He recently said that this whole covering of the Mueller's investigations over the last 2 years have been the greatest reporting of journalism in the last, or is like one of the greatest ever. So it almost makes you wonder if Nixon was innocent, if Bernstein was saying that, just as a joke. I mean, clearly. Nixon,
well, you know, the thing with Woodward and Bernstein is it wasn't exactly their great journalistic ability that broke the Watergate story. It's because they had they got
lucky and got Deep Throat.
They got Deep Throat, which was
he was one of the
head of the FBI,
he was one of the higher ups, maybe deputy.
Yeah,
director.
They basically just got lucky with the source. It wasn't like they pulled a Rain Man and collected a bunch of disparate facts together and made a case, you know.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think we covered that pretty good. Now we can move on to the
one quick thing before we move on to Smollett.
Yeah.
Avenatti. I just want.
Oh, we forgot about that.
I want to cover
yes,
Avenatti
Jonathan.
real
Have
quick.
you heard about Avenatti?
Michael Avenatti.
No, I've not.
Oh my goodness, this is some juicy stuff right here.
Michael Avenatti has been charged with, I think, extortion in relation to Nike.
Yes, we all remember Avenatti being the lawyer for Stormy Daniels, and then he was the lawyer for one of the accusers of Kavanaugh, I believe.
Yes.
And became a media darling. He was on CNN how many times in 1 month?
Insane.
It's like 40-something times, wasn't it?
But anyway, he's been charged with extortion for he's going to extort them for like $20 million. And so yeah, I think Donald Trump Jr. said it best.
Well, Brian Stelter of CNN had told Avenatti, he said, "I consider you a serious contender for 2020."
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
there was a lot of speculation he was going to run.
Donald Trump Jr. said, "I guess Avenatti 2020 has turned into Avenatti 20 to 25."
20 to 25, yeah.
But yeah, because Avenatti, didn't he tweet out that he predicted Trump Jr. would be indicted
by 12/31/18?
Yeah,
which is like 3 months ago.
But now instead, Avenatti is indicted. So that's some rich justice right there. Anyway, on to Jesse Smollett. So this has gotten quite interesting, as we all know, hopefully. Jesse Smollett basically faked a hate crime on himself.
According to all the information out there.
Yeah. And he was indicted by the Chicago police, I guess is the official term or whatever. And facing fines and possible jail time. And now all of a sudden, all the charges were dropped on Smollett, and all the records have been sealed, and a gag order has been placed on the Chicago Police Department, and the whole thing has been shut down. And the lead prosecutor, who supposedly recused herself, has now come out and said she didn't actually recuse herself.
They used the word recused colloquially.
Colloquially,
not
yes.
in the legal sense.
She didn't actually recuse herself. She just let her assistant take the lead publicly.
Now, this is the same prosecutor who it was found out, and the reason she, quote-unquote, recused herself was because it was found out she had exchanged emails and text messages with Smollett's family and friends, I believe.
Yeah, and the Chicago PD are not happy about this because obviously this has just come out of nowhere, all these charges being dropped, and there's no explanation. In fact, the prosecutor, I believe she said, what did she say? That they didn't exonerate Smollett. They just said that they were satisfied with
supposedly, from what I could tell on Twitter, as the story was breaking, was they dropped the charges because
they were satisfied with his community service.
They
didn't exonerate him.
The community service he was doing, they didn't really want to pull him out and lose that service that was happening within the community.
So, very strange. Jonathan, what's your thoughts on it?
I was about to say, what community service? I haven't heard anything about him doing any community service, but I may be wrong. I
just want to clarify.
Like that.
I just want to clarify. Community service, not necessarily like in a probation sense, but in like a helping the community.
Then, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
Smollett's not really what little I know, he got famous overnight because of the crime he committed. Is he was an actor on a long-running TV show of Empire? Yeah. So what? And he was about to get fired, as I heard, and he's not on the show anymore. Definitely, they wrote him off.
No.
So
didn't I believe the Fox studio, didn't they tweet out "See y'all next Wednesday," referring to the next showing of Empire? And
I mean, the show's still going, but he's not on it.
Presumably, they would already have several episodes recorded. As far as I know, they're going to drop him.
Oh, they are. Okay, so that's
as far as I know.
I thought that was reversed.
As far as I know, I haven't looked into it a whole lot on that aspect.
But anyway, what's your thoughts on the charges all of a sudden being dropped and the gag order placed?
I think, and this is just me going full conspiracy here, someone might have messed up in the whole process of, arresting, interviewing, just the whole thing. Somewhere someone might have messed up.
Messed up in what way?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm just throwing out an idea here because I know that if something, let's say you get something throughout the investigation, but you don't have a warrant for it, and whatever you find from that is, I'm sure you know the term, fruit of the poisonous tree. You can't use whatever information you found from some illegal search, anything, any kind of mistake in this investigation where they can get a warrant, they use excessive, whatever they did, excessive force, whatever they did, they couldn't prosecute, they couldn't do anything because it would just open up. That's just my idea. I don't know why they dropped the charges. It was kind of an easy case to do. He obviously wasn't, a victim of an attack.
Personally, I read a theory, and I don't know, I think it's pretty compelling that there's higher ups in the political ecosphere of Chicago. There's some higher up individual that's implicated in this, and that the order came from on high to drop this thing so that the investigation wouldn't reach this person and potentially implicate them in a criminal or at least politically disadvantageous situation. Now, who that person is, I have no idea.
I have seen it thrown around on like Reddit. There wasn't a whole lot of evidence to support this, and it's highly, highly, highly conspiratorial. I just want to throw this out there. It's fairly interesting that the theory is that Kamala Harris and Cory Booker are involved. Now, obviously, the immediate thought that comes to mind is how. Apparently, Kamala Harris and Smollett are real tight, are real close friends. Kamala Harris and Cory Booker have recently introduced a anti-lynching bill. Mm-hmm. Now, it's mostly ceremonial because lynching has been largely made illegal. And add that, they recently threw that in.
Completely illegal.
It's clear, huh?
It's completely illegal.
Right, I'm saying they're trying to make it official within federal code.
Make it a federal
code
situation.
Yes. The theory goes that they're introducing this bill right about the same time Smollett has an attack that involves a noose. So it's highly conspiratorial, but I think it's very.
It's but like, what's the conspiracy?
The conspiracy is they did this to help promote the bill. Oh. So
I don't know. We can call up Alex Jones, see what he thinks.
Yeah, we should do that.
Definitely seems like he's open for interviews.
And what boggles my mind is Rahm Emanuel, Chicago mayor. he actually blames Trump for the hoax because he says Trump has created the only way. Hold on, let me get the. Here we go. Quote, this is quoting the Chicago mayor, Rahm Emanuel. Quote, look, I've always said from day one this is a Trump-free zone, the city of Chicago, and I mean it. Let me be really clear about something. The only reason Jussie Smollett thought he could take advantage of a hoax about a hate crime is for the environment, the toxic environment Donald Trump created. Close quote. To me, that's just that's the height of like doublethink ridiculousness to blame Trump for a guy intentionally faking a hate crime. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Also, I found it interesting that Rahm Emanuel would come out against the prosecutor's decision to drop the charges. He seemed to be very upset. That was interesting.
About that. He did not like that they dropped the charges like that. So I don't know how that plays out with the theory that there's a higher up political,
who knows? Of
course, then again, there's nothing preventing him from making a public statement, but fully supporting the opposite, privately.
Yeah, right.
It could be just a PR move.
There's all sorts of political maneuverings like that.
Yeah.
Done by both sides.
Mm-hmm. So, any last words on that, Jonathan, before we move on?
Nope, not really. I did follow the Jussie Smollett case very well. It was discussed in circles around campus here. People were talking about how it's a perfect example of intersectionality, and how not only was he attacked, supposedly, this is back when everyone thought he actually got attacked. Well, it's the uniting of two, usually not intersected groups, black men and gay men. So it was a black gay man who was attacked. So a lot of people around here talked about it, and as soon as charges came out, people stopped talking about it. So I haven't followed it. I just heard about it, but it's strange to see him just get set free for a crime. It was obviously a crime. So
yeah, it's just it. It's one of those things that the people say that there's like if you're famous, you get more leniency in the justice system. That's not always true, but I think sometimes that can apply, and this might be one of those situations.
There's so many questions you could ask about this situation.
Yes.
Okay, one more thing. Apparently, Wood, you were talking about, it looks like Biden is jumping into 2020?
He's like he's running, but he's not running. The other day he made I guess you call it a Freudian slip, saying among us who are running, or something very similar to that. He made a phrase where it sounded like he was among the running, and he said really very quickly corrected himself and said, "But I'm not running right now. I'm not,
Yeah, but it's
and they're already starting to put out opposition pieces on Biden. I saw a headline on the Drudge Report where they're already bringing this woman who said Biden inappropriately kissed her.
Yeah, so it looks like Biden, a decent chance for Biden to be jumping in. Jonathan, what's your take on that? Because I know we talked about before about it looked like someone like Kamala Harris was going to be probably the front runner, but how do things change up now that it looks like Biden may be jumping in?
He might be bumping up to becoming the front runner. I don't know how I feel about it. I would like to see what Biden's positions are. I think he's going to be lefter than my current choice, which is Tulsi Gabbard. But I'm interested to see how it changes the field. I think he'll become front runner. And I'm very interested. Have you guys heard the rumors of his running mate?
No, I haven't heard anything about that.
Oh, you're going to love this. Stacey Abrams might be his running mate.
Oh,
his
I forgot.
President.
Yes.
That makes sense. And that would.
It really does. She really made a name for herself as a Democrat. She really, she lost the election, but lost the election very close. It was a very close here in Georgia, and as a red state that's almost always voted red, not always, but you know what I mean, for past forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They to get so many Democratic votes here. I think people really started looking at her as a candidate. I think that maybe Biden was looking around going, okay, who can I bring up from, on the national stage that may not be in it right now. So it'd be interesting to see how he will affect the Democratic race, and I'm very curious how, if he does get to be the front runner, how it's going to affect Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard that she might be his running mate if he's the nominee, but that kind of goes along with, she recently said a presidential run in 2020 was not out of the question for her. That she wasn't going to go ahead and do it, but she wasn't. She hadn't written it off completely. And another thing is, Georgia has been starting to go more of a purple state in recent years. I don't think it
definitely interesting.
I don't think it go completely like blue or purple in 2020. But if you have someone on the ticket like Stacey Abrams who got so many votes, last year, then potentially they could try to use her to try flip Georgia or another southern state.
What's y'all's take on Beto O'Rourke? Because I didn't think too much about him running before, but apparently in his first 24 hours after announcing, he raised $6.1 million, which broke even Bernie Sanders' record. So, you think he's going to be one of those that burns bright but not long, or do you think he's got a chance to be a big?
I think he's going to flame out pretty quick. I think he'll run.
Yeah.
I think he'll last. He'll last probably into the mid season of the primaries. I don't think he'll burn out immediately, but I think I saw a little bit of this. The supporters of Bernie are going to have going to take knives out for him. They're going to have a lot of animosity because he may try to steal the fire that Bernie had.
Yeah.
In 2016.
What do you think, Jonathan?
I think I will not be seeing him on the first debate stage for the Democrats. That's just my bold claim. I don't think he's going to make it long in the overall, and he's not going to make it long because he's new. He hasn't won any elections. He does have national recognition, but not true recognition. All they know is that he was a Democrat who almost beat Ted Cruz. They don't know many of his positions. They know him as a personality. I think that he has the Obama flair of personality, but not as good as Obama. I think that's not good enough to get him into, on the debate stage when it comes to Democrats. I think that sooner or later he's going to realize that he's got a lot of money, he's got some recognition, but it's not going to take him to a victory in 2020. He's not going to be able to beat Trump. I think I would say it is a safe bet to say he's not going to win the primary. So I think that it's really good. It's nice that he ran. Well, not really nice because he said he wouldn't, but then he did. But it's nice that it gets just more diversity to this already diverse group of Democrats running. I think it's cool that it will. I think for him it will raise his name up in the national consciousness.
Yeah,
I think people are going to know about him more. I think it's people are going to look and say, "Wow, look how much money he raised." So when it comes up to beat Ted Cruz in the next election, I think he might be able to do it.
Yeah, I'll have to wrap you up real quick because we're running out of time. Real quick, let's run around. What's your number one choice of who you think will get it, and who's your number two choice?
Of nomination?
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, and then right after her, probably, I don't know.
Hurry up.
I can't think right now.
I'd say Kamala Harris, if not her, then Joe Biden. Jonathan?
Joe Biden, and then Tulsi Gabbard.
Really?
Yeah, I think she can fight it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this week.
Let me plug our social
media real quick.
Our Twitter account is Say What UGA. That's Say What UGA. You can find us on YouTube. Say What You Will Show. You can find us our old live streams or our channel. Subscribe. Hit the bell notification.
All right. See y'all next week. And here's Spanish Fly by Van Halen.